yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, as well as AD Drew. Just wanted to give you an update in terms of us getting ready for week 6 and letting you know what took place in week 5. This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So welcome to episode 716 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, with co-host Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, AD Drew. We're filming our home studios and sending a signal live out here as we go in terms of Facebook as well as YouTube, as you know. Shout out to the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. I am thy. With that being said, let's bring everybody on board. As we do that, as you see, I moved the helmet, and so it's appropriate that I'm able to bring up the cigar. Congratulations, cigar, as we do on our show, getting ready here. Let me place this back up here after I get that so I can get my aesthetics, if you would. And as we do that, shout out to also Jackson State is in order for the major division in terms of how they certainly have pushed Southern on the ledge. We'll see if Charles in segment 2 is ready to put them squarely there. He tried to hold off, I guess, as long as he could, but we told him, or at least Mike did, that may not be the case, that they could start preparing their luggage in terms of that trip. Texas Southern certainly got off the ledge. Big win down there. And Charles will tell us a little bit as he was on that call. It was an exciting game in terms of the competitiveness and being close. And then obviously, shout out to North Carolina Central, Joshua Sims, Edward Waters found a way to get over that hump after playing up a major team. You know, you always had that trap game. They played close. Shout out to Morehouse, but couldn't quite get it done. We got to give some love to Edward Waters. Virginia Union continues to do what they're doing. Livingstone is surprisingly undefeated. I might have missed that. We'll take a deeper dive on Tuesday on that, but just wanted to give you some ideas. Bethune-Cookman with a big conference win. Shout out. Cigars or what? Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions. Shout out in terms of what they do with the cigars there. Howard, right there on the doorstep. South Carolina State, right there on the doorstep. But they have to wake up before they get there.
My father-in-law's school, Fort Valley.
Fort Valley? Albany? Yes. Good one. Good one.
You forgot about Miles, Dr. Cavil.
Mm-hmm. Miles? Yeah, they were close. Morgan State. If it wasn't for they didn't win a drive, block field goal, they turned into a touchdown and they lost on the 10-yard line. Man, shout out to Morgan State, though. They had an innocent touchdown call back, find a way to get it done. But we'll have some questions for you all on that and see how that affects them in the poll ranking. And with that being said, what's on your mind, Charles? What was the big news of the day for you on Saturday?
Yeah, you know, Doc, I really sat back and thought about it, and I don't know if I've had an opportunity here on this show where I've had to kind of say, can y'all please get in a single file line? There's a bunch of folks coming to the ledge this weekend. After kind of taking the temperature a little bit of fan bases yesterday, yeah, we got some folks like in a layup line trying to get to the ledge. So.
He said single line. Mike, what were some of the big games to you? Any Big Ben helmet stickers that you prepared to give out? And I'll come back to you, Charles, see if you want to give out a helmet sticker.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Man, where do I start? I guess I got to start. I'm kind of a PV homer, as you can tell. So you got to give it out to McDowell, running back for Purview A&M. One touch had a touchdown, 98 yards. Average almost 8 or 9 yards per carry. Really carried the team. So helmet sticker for me, right there. That's the first one that comes to mind. I'd like to go back to your comment. We need to just have a show and call it On the Plank, because it's not just let's call it On the Plank, because there's about 3 or 4 teams that are just on that plank. I agree with Charles. It's not just one. There are about 3 or 4 teams that have signed that warrant and say we are on the plank. So
yeah, everybody getting to know their point guard this morning.
Exactly. But yeah, that's my first come to mind helmet sticker for Purdue A&M, if you're asking me.
Thank you, Jim.
Certainly. Drew, what about you? Big games, big scores. What are your thoughts in terms of Saturday? Any helmet stickers you want to add to it as well? Big Ben helmet sticker. Back when they had the leather helmets.
I'm gonna hold on my helmet sticker for a moment, but right there at the front of the line, or the orange and green for walking off the plank. FAMU, thank God we have a good volleyball program, because that's what looks like we're gonna have to do to entertain ourselves for the remainder of the fall semester, because football is not it in Tallahassee this weekend, So hey, I'm kind of scared about this trip to Atlanta next week for my beloved Rattlers. Even though Valley has not gotten a win yet, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but
let me tell you something. That's gonna lead me to my helmet sticker.
All right. But my helmet sticker is going to go to Jaden Carter from Morgan State, who refused to let a Division II team beat them and had to get that big paw up and return that ball 94 yards, Dr. Cavil. 94 yards. That's all those sprints that you do after practice coming into play in that particular one. So if anybody gets a helmet sticker, that's going to be my helmet sticker right there for Morgan State. And you talk about Morgan State would have skipped straight over the ledge if they would have lost that game and just went straight into the deep end.
Ooh, you ain't lying. Good helmet sticker. Good point on recovering somebody from the ledge. I'll say it that way. Good point. Let me go to you, Charles. Helmet sticker.
Yeah, helmet sticker. And in a losing effort, let me give a helmet sticker to Josh Brown, Mississippi Valley State's quarterback. He did everything under the sun he could do. 20 of 31 for 252 yards pass, another 83 yards on the ground, 350 yards of total offense just from Josh Brown. And, I think just looking back at that game, Valley really kind of wore down toward the end, but they are going to pick somebody off. This is they're the eyeball test. They met the eyeball test. They're a very talented football team that just has to learn how to win.
Yeah, good points. And did you get shout out to Valley playing a real tough game? Shout out to Texas Southern, find a way to get it done. Missing
Absolutely.
a couple of field goals, and just plays back and forth where you thought they were going to get some momentum, and then they let it go with a fumble or interception. So a wild game in terms of the closeness of it. Did you get a update, explanation, I guess you would say, in terms of the fake punt, 4th and 10, 11?
I did not get an explanation. I'm sure that will be a question that'll come up with the media call tomorrow. But Very interesting decision in terms of going for the fake punt. I don't know if they saw a look that they like or whatever the case might have been, but just down in distance with right at the 2-minute mark. I mean, you could make an argument that they kind of gift wrap one there to Texas Southern in regards to that play calls, but I'm sure that's a question that'll come up tomorrow in terms of what was the thinking that went into that particular play, because it set up Texas Southern inside Valley territory. So and it led to Texas Southern getting in position. And credit to Texas Southern. Trent Leary got behind the defensive back, made a tremendous catch, set them up for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, and I agree. I was just going to say that credit to the coaches in terms of the coaching call.
Yeah,
people always talk about sudden change, going for a big play, and that's exactly what they did, going to the down behind the cornerback, getting back there in terms of wide receiver, like a 35 yard pass that set them inside the 10-yard line. So it was a big play, big momentum, and they took advantage of it. So I wanted to shout out. While we're quiet here, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to one of your bicyclists, Eddie Robb in the Alabama State body, in terms of what they did to FAMU. I think many of us thought that Alabama State could go in there and get that victory. Obviously, it would be tough. But with that being said, I'm not sure if we thought it would be as dominating. First half, close score, but they just, from the eye test, it seemed like they outmatched them, and certainly in the second half, they took it to them. Any thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama State 200, close to 300 yards rushing. I think that was the stat that popped out for me in regards to their game. But I mean, it was a dominant performance from Alabama State. And I think, there's a lot of, I think what was the coaching lock-in last night, Coach Cozy had to kind of, sit down and see where this program is going right now. But, that was a very dominating performance. And we asked, going into that game, is this going to be the coming out party or part one of the coming out party for Alabama State? They definitely passed the muster in that regard.
There's something about somebody that with the name of Eddie Robinson in this conference as a coach that just leads to domination. I don't know what it is.
Great call. Great call. Mike, I'm going to go to you back to the State Fair Classic in terms of that game. While there were points that was close, if you would, or a play or two, but it seemed like Prairie View pretty much dominated that game, particularly with their ability to run. And this is like the third game where they were able to get a significant drive, whether they were ahead or needing a comeback, where they could lean on players, particularly the ability to run the ball to get 2 first downs. In this case, to close out this victory when they're up, refusing to give the ball back to Grambling to even give them a shot to tie the game. So I thought that was fascinating. Ultimately scored and then stopped Grambling again and just took a knee. What are your thoughts in terms of how Prairie View's playing right now?
Yeah, I the way I see it is, you thought there were glimmers of or sparklings of maybe hope, but I think there's a consistency that you're seeing in the SWAC, and that's we're going to come and we're going to run the ball and we're going to play defense. You heard CB just talk about Alabama State. They had 300 yards on the ground running. Prairie View came in and they had 220 yards running the ball, and their defense did the job for them. Grambling's first 5 or 6 possessions were almost 3 and out. If maybe 3, maybe 3-4 plays, punt, 3 plays, punt, 2 or 3 plays, punt. And when they did have the opportunity, they either field goal their way out, or they just turn the ball over. So that combination of defense and running. Listen, Prairie View had 5.5 yards on the rushing attempt. 6.5 yards per rushing attempt. They held Grambling to about 3 yards rushing attempt. They came to run the ball and to basically hit Grambling in the mouth. And there was never a point in that game where you felt that really Prairie View did not really have control. Even when Grambling, had, the scoring threats, you really just didn't get the feeling that eye test. I know you don't like it, but I'm going to use it. That eye test tells you that Prairie View came in as the more prepared, the better team. Just like Alabama State, they dominated. Prairie View didn't dominate in quite as much of fashion, but they came like Alabama State to run the ball and to play defense.
Jimmy Wilson asked a good question. Is the SWAC a running football conference now?
Yes, that's the theme I'm seeing. That
so.
If you can run the ball, I'm thinking there are three or four teams that run the ball well, and by the way, they're the teams that are in the top 7.
There's a couple of defenses out there that are starting to make some noise. Howard University and their loss, still the defense made a statement in terms. This is what they've been doing all season. If you quietly looked at it, maybe struggling offensively, but even the scores, one came basically from an offensive play where there was an interception deep and the guy ran it back 50 plays, and the next play they end up putting themselves deep into inside the 5-yard line and score a touchdown. And then the last touchdown that gave Howard essentially had the loss in terms of Richmond. It was a 4th, 3rd and something long, and they do like a little shovel pass that ends up getting tipped and then intercepted. That shuts them up for the second touchdown. So it really wasn't on the defense for that. Then you talk about Prairie View's defense. It's looking really soft. Jackson State defense. You're starting to see some defenses that are making statements. Alabama State on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm fascinated like that. I want to take this first break. We'll come back on the other side. 7. And then I'll let you get in those comments because we still need to be able to talk about those 7. So I want, even if you had a mid-major division, you could get out there. We'll get it in the next segment. Let's take this first break and come back on the other side.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural taste, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and AD Drew. AD Drew, I know you wanted to get in on a little bit on that last segment. Go ahead.
Doc, we focus so much on the SWAC, we buried the lead in the other conference, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference.
What you got?
Delaware State taking a loss to Sacred Heart on yesterday by a score of 35-31, getting shut out in the second half. But probably even more important than that was South Carolina State losing to a winless Charleston Southern.
Didn't see that coming.
Yesterday. You know,
And
we
that was
really
a
buried the
surprise.
lead with those.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to get in those with the scores. So I was going to make sure we get in there because they happen to be ranked in the top 7. So I'm with you along with the Howard. I guess I touched on a little bit, and that's to your point why those become a little more interesting in the MEAC. But yes, I got a chance to watch those games. So I want to hear what you all have to say on that. But yeah, that Charleston was weird. One of their scores was on a tip pass, quick touchdown, ran back on an interception after it was tipped. For 40 yards. So there's a couple of plays where they shot themselves in the foot, giving up touchdowns. Normally you don't see from South Carolina State. They put Charleston Southern in the ability to get those wins. That's the kind of things we talk about. But let's go with the scores. Number 1, Jackson State continues to do what they do. Before we do that, as we release the top 7 for week 5 in the next segment, this is last week's ranking, so let's see how these top 7 teams, as I was saying, Jackson State dominates Southern. Speaking of not being able to score in the second half, that's what happened to Southern. Jackson State shut them out. It was a relatively close entertainment game. In fact, Southern threatened to have the lead and maybe to add to it until a running into the kicker call gave Jackson State a first down. This preceded them on that drive where they looked like they had probably a receiver behind the defensive back that kind of slid by there, and it was slightly overthrown. But Jackson State got another chance as a quarterback there, and he went back and he laid this one on the money where Jackson State scores right before the half and takes 16-13 lead, and they never look back in the second half as they shut out Southern that falls to 1-4, 0-1. 38-13 was the score. Let's get into number 2 in terms of that score. AD just alluded to this one. South Carolina State at home, number 2, falls to 2-3.
Wow.
To a winless, or what was a winless Charleston Southern in their backyard, 1-4. They lose 31-24. And they just were not clean in this matchup. That's the best way I can put it in terms of allowing Charleston to stick around. We know what happens when any team is allowed to stick around. You only need a play or two. You're talking about college kids, young men, and things happen. Number 3 is Alabama State. People question where they should be ranked, or should they be this high? I think they certainly caught a lot of people's eyes, those that weren't already buzzing about them. They go to Tallahassee where, let's be frank, it's not an easy place to win, no matter how people are thinking about the Rattlers right now. Top 10 matchup, they make a statement. They go in and win in Bragg. They're now 3-1, 1-0. As FAMU falls to 1-3, 0-1. They've been 0-1 in the conference before and been able to dig out of that slide. Usually it was to Jackson State when they open things up. So, but it's something to keep your eye on. 42-14 was the score in terms of that matchup. Getting us to number 4, North Carolina Central Eagles. This is one that a lot of people were interested in, as you have East Texas A&M. The Lions, who were winless, fall to 0-5. They played Prairie View the week before. Prairie View had to come back and get that win. North Carolina Central was winning this game handily, 47-28. But they allowed the Lions to score 21 points in the fourth quarter. They did put up a field goal to make sure they had the spread there, but they win 50-42. So it's fascinating when you talk about that matchup. As you look at number 5, probably the surprise of the day for a lot of folks, not necessarily that Bethune-Cookman won the game. People probably could see that, but the score, 41-34, and it was a track meet by both teams. It went back and forth. Bethune-Cookman in some points looked like they took control. A&M had some costly turnovers. They fought back, give them credit, but could not get key stops. That defense, and now we can say the defense of both of these teams leaves some things to be desired. Offensively, they can put some points on the board. Moving us to number 6. gave you a little inside trick on this one. Howard Falls, after having a 12-3 lead, dominating this matchup, looked like they were maybe going in to get a final field goal that really would put them in solid position, or a touchdown that pretty much in the fourth would have knocked a nail in the coffin for sure. But nope, they could not hold it on. Big interception, return, and then an interception that set up two scores essentially for Richmond. And even the coach in the post game, he said they outplayed us today. We had a couple of plays, and he couldn't get over the fact that he believed that he won the game. He just didn't feel right.
Yes.
But he did. He did. Number 6, Howard falls to 3-2, and Richmond improves to 2-2 on the season. 13-12 was the final there. Howard is a road test. They find a way and came. Maybe they do it a little better if they got home. This was an interesting one, as Delaware State were doing what they do, playing some good football, particularly in the first half, looking solid, took big leads, but they let the Pioneers come back on them, get the win. They improved to 3-1, 35-31 was scored, as Delaware State falls to 3-2 on the season. Interesting to see what you all gentlemen think on these top 7 scores in the rankings. And we'll start with you, Mike. What stood out to you?
You talked about the Howard. I had a chance to peep some of that game. And the thing about it, I've never seen a more lopsided game up until the very end, where Howard had the ball for 43 minutes of the game, which left Richmond with 16 minutes, give or take. They won pretty much in most of the statistical categories. They put up 300 plus yards, and for all intents and purposes, Howard won that game statistically, except key mistakes, and could not have one stop. I mean, they needed a field goal, couldn't convert. But for the instance, and that begs the question: if Howard has to go on the road, is that going to be always this season be a different Howard team than we see Howard at home? So that was just my question. They had this game wrapped up. That game stood out to me. There are a couple of more, but if you're asking which games kind of leave you scratching, that one right there leaves me scratching my head.
Great points. And not just so much the road. I think they'll be kind of road tested. They hadn't played at home other than a game in D.C., but that was at Audi Stadium, the soccer stadium in Hampton. But their problem is just getting going on the offense. Defense will keep them pretty much in any game. If they can get a play or two, who knows? But you would imagine, like any team, you put the defense out there much, they're going to wear down at some point. But that's the challenge to me, what you got with Howard. AD, what of those games, which one stood out to you?
I can't single out one particular game, but I do think it was interesting. We mentioned it on Thursday's show that all of the top teams were on the road this past week. And some of these teams did not perform to the level that we expected them to on the road. We've always had that defense travels, where the defense may have traveled, but some of them stayed on the bus with their defense. So this is something that, as we get ready to get deeper into conference play, that we need to pay attention to see the pretenders from the contenders when it comes to these particular teams. You're supposed to win at home, on bed, your band, your fans, your cheerleaders, everything else. Can you win in hostile territory? Some teams yesterday that I thought should have gotten W's did not get the W's against teams that if they play them at a neutral site, they probably get the victory.
Good points, and I'll break that down even more, but I'm going to give Charles a chance to give his game. What stood out to him?
I think the what if stood out with regards to Delaware State losing their quarterback to a celebration penalty. I hate when something like that happens. I'm a friend of the referee, but I'm sure there was a lot of consternation with regards to your quarterback getting tossed out of the game. Another what if is Alabama A&M and their loss. What I picked up on in the stat sheet, no Cornelius Brown. So there's a big what if with regards to Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman. The what if for Southern, if they didn't run into the kicker, once Jackson State got the ball rolling, that was it. So I think the thing that jumps out for me in that regards is I don't know where I stand with regards to, the common sense in me is like, oh boy, Jackson State, has to put their foot on the gas, but then it's like, when they put their foot on the gas, that's it. So, it's kind of a very interesting dynamic to look at. But the big thing, Jacoby Morgan got vertical. And I think that's something a lot of Jackson State fans have been wanting to see out of him in terms of taking some shots downfield.
Good point. Let me break down those road games that you're talking about, whether they were on the top 7 or outside of that. Essentially, the entire MEAC was on the road in regards to that. The lone home team was in a classic. And so Delaware State was at Sacred Heart, Norfolk State was at Wagner, Howard at Richmond, South Carolina State at Charleston, North Carolina Central at East Texas A&M. And the only team that was able to get the win on the road in terms of hostile territory was North Carolina Central against East Texas A&M. Obviously, Morgan State got a win over Miles. Don't want to leave that off, but that was in a classic, if you would. And then in terms of the SWAC, you had Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State at FAMU, Texas Southern at Valley, Alcorn State at Arkansas Pine Bluff. That was in a classic. And you had Grambling Prairie View. That was in a classic. Jackson State on Southern. So you had a little more success in the SWAC in terms of the road team. But those that were in the top rankings, Alabama A&M lost in terms of what they were able to do. So, but State got the win. Jackson State got the win. Texas Southern went on the road, got the win. So fascinating when you think about that. Pine Bluff did get a big win in terms of Alcorn. Asking Charles about the ledge. I imagine you don't have to say much there, but I will ask Grambling losing to Prairie View. Where are you with those particular teams in terms of where they should be on the ledge, along with FAMU?
Well, probably FAMU leads the list. And unfortunately, I got to do it to my guy, but Joe Bullock got to come on with him on the ledge on this one. But I didn't understand the whole band thing yesterday. But yeah, probably I've never seen a day where probably FAMU, Southern, Grambling, Alcorn, they're all high-fiving trying to get to the ledge here.
Yep.
Significant brands, too. Significant brands. We won't leave that out. North Carolina A&T, after getting thumped, it looked like they were on their way to get thumped. They fought back a little bit. Hampton had the lead late but couldn't hold on. Tennessee State took a thumping as well. So, yeah, even our independents didn't quite show up in terms of being on the road. With that being said, let's take our second break, come back on the other side, and it's time to unveil the top 7, see what all these losses, road losses, who it affect. Did it affect many teams, some teams? We'll see what the poll ranking folks thought. And we'll see what these gentlemen think when the final tabulation comes out after this next break.
Football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with the professors. That's Professor Bishop, Professor Washington, Professor Drew. Let's get into this third segment for Dr. Ville's 2025 HBCU Major Division Football Ranking. Week number 5. Let's look at the top 7. Before we get into the top 7, we got to see if there's any team that dropped out. There is actually one team that dropped out this week, and that is the Alabama A&M Bulldogs that fall to 3-2, 0-1 in conference play as they went down to Daytona Beach, and the Wildcats attacked the Bulldogs and took care of business, winning a big conference matchup to open up the conference race for both these teams. Let's go into those receiving votes now. Those teams receiving votes all out of the SWAC this week. Those Alabama A&M Bulldogs will drop out. They're just outside of it. So they're still essentially in the 8th spot, if you would. Top of those receiving votes in terms of what they look like this week. 3-2, 0-1, 137 points. Grambling State Tigers stay in distance in terms of the top 7 as they're in the 9th spot. The Tigers fall to 3-2, 0-1 in the conference race, 130 points. Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, they sneaked their way up. They've won 2 straight games, played a close one against South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, 3 weeks ago. Interesting to kind of see what that indication. There was everybody questioning in that 4th quarter, was that more about the Bulldogs letting the foot off the gas, or was that something the Wildcats find out? Thus far, maybe people think that's the case. But they're obviously the final team receiving votes in essentially what would be our top 10. So let's get into the top 7 and see who jumps into the poll rankings with that. At number 7, Delaware State Hornets. They remain in the 7th spot, 3-2, even after a loss. 154 points, I should say, as they are in at number 7. Tough loss for them, particularly what they were able to do in the second half. Let's get into number 6. Number 6 is the Howard Bison. We told you what took place in their game in terms of not being able to get it done against Richmond. Howard falls to 3-2, but they stay in their 6 spots, 159 points, as they still have a winning record this season. On to the 5th spot as we continue to climb up the rankings. 5th spot is South Carolina State Bulldogs, only team in the top 7 with a losing record. Plays some good football. Interesting to see what the gentlemen think. Do you still think South Carolina State is that team that we saw last year? They won the conference, end up going to the Celebration Bowl. Will it be continue to play some good football? Tough loss. They fall actually 1 spot in terms of week number 5. The Bulldogs fall to 2-3 on the season. Bringing us to number 4. Number 4 in the race. Prairie View and Panthers, 3-2, 2-0 in the conference race. Quietly ascending up the rankings. They fell out for 1 week, but they quickly bounced back. 3-2, 2-0. Have 3 Division I wins in terms of what they're able to do, and just 1 FCS loss. 2-0 in the conference race. In a really good position heading out the West, what people think was going to be jumbled up. Be fascinating to see, do they fall back to the pack, or over the week do they tighten their grip on what looks to be the Western Division. They're back in the rankings at 185 points all the way up to number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 this week is North Carolina Central Eagles, 4-2. 1 first place vote. Looked like they were making a statement, but they allowed East Texas A&M to come back. It was a road game. And anytime you get a road win, I think that is a statement in itself. But they remain at the 3 spot, bringing us up to number 2. Number 2, Alabama State Hornets solidified a spot at number 2 as they get a couple of the first place rankings, so they get closer to Jackson State, who ultimately will be number 1. Shouldn't surprise anybody. In fact, this is the 11th week in a row when you talk about who's number 1. At 5 first place votes, the Hornets continue to roll. They make a major statement going on the road. They get over the hump, literally, in terms of the Rattlers in Tallahassee, in Bragg Stadium. 208 points, remain at number 2. But the big story here is they pick up some first place votes. Meaning number 1, remaining number 1 is Jackson State Tigers. They go on the road. Big road victory, while Southern may not be playing as well as some people would look in terms of this matchup. It's still a rivalry matchup. And you go on the road, as you could tell, first half, Southern played really a strong game, had a chance, as I said, to go in halftime with the lead. But Jackson State makes a statement. They talk about the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of a half. Jackson State did that, and then in the second half made a major statement. They have 6 first place votes, 220 points. They remain number 1, clearly in that 1 spot for most folks. 11 straight weeks at number 1, going back to week 10 of 2024. Jackson State is solid in terms of what they are doing in the ranking this year. So, top 7, as you would have it. Number 7 is the Delaware State Hornets, 3-2 out of the MEAC. Number 6 is Howard Bison, also out of the MEAC at 3-2. Number 5 is South Carolina State Bulldogs. As you know, they're in the MEAC. They're at 2-3 on the season. And number 4, Prairie View A&M Panthers, out of the SWAC, 3-2, 2-0 in the conference race. North Carolina Central Eagles, the Prairie View's out of the SWAC, obviously. North Carolina Central Eagles, 4-2 on the season. They are out of the MEAC. Top 2 programs out of the SWAC. That's Alabama State Hornets, 3-1, 1-0 in the conference race. Jackson State Tigers, 3-1, 1-0. Both of those teams are in the Eastern Division. We finally get appearance of a Western Division team in the SWAC as the East had dominated. Mike, I'm going to go with you first. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 7 in week number 5?
Well, I'll start with your last point. Point that I noticed is that you finally got a West team in the top 7, actually in the top 5. And we wondered who that would be. Remember, 4 months ago, July, the SWAC predicted order of finish. It was Alcorn State and Southern all day, every day for the West. Where are we now? Both teams are on the legs. Guess what? It happens in 2025. The other thing, I'm good with your 1 through 4. I would switch up 5 through 7. I would have maybe Howard or Delaware State at number 5. To me, South Carolina is, at least in the last couple of weeks, showing to be raised question marks. Are they that 2024 team? The way they lost to a team with very few wins, I think they still should be number in 7. But if you look at it in the MEAC, they're number 3 or 4 in the MEAC. So I think you keep them in the 7, but move them down. I think Howard's got a strong defense. You could make a stronger argument for them being 5 and Delaware State being 6, or vice versa, for that very reason. But I would switch up the orders. I haven't reached that warm and fuzzy with South Carolina State. We haven't seen that dominant performance from them just yet. So
good stuff,
those are
Mike. Good stuff. Let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of week number 5's top 7 in the major division football poll ranking?
You know, Mike, I think you make an interesting point because I think South Carolina State defensively, ever since that 28-point fourth quarter that Bethune-Cookman threw up on them, they've been kind of, they've kind of been Jekyll and Hyde to me. And that yesterday was a complete head scratcher in terms of losing to a winless team in Charleston Southern. So I could easily see swapping out, Howard and South Carolina State in that regards from week to week. I think the scary thing about Prairie View is week after week after week, you keep seeing the buy-in even more. I mean, and like I said, the physicality part, they meet the eyeball on Whipper in that regards. They can run the football and they play really good, solid defense. One of the things I was really paying attention to is the way they rally to the football. And they come there with bad intentions. Sounds a whole lot like Jackson State from last year. And in that regards, I mean, Alabama State, dominant performance. I think they are where they should be in terms of taking a look at them at 2-3 between North Carolina Central. And a big statement by Jackson State defensively, the shutout. Anytime you pitch a shutout in the second half of a rivalry game, says a lot about this football team. Like I said, well, when they get ready to put their foot on the gas, they show you still that they are still separate from everybody else.
Did you use that term eyeball? Did you use the eyeball?
It jumped out. Yeah.
You gonna put the both of us now?
I got to give you some data with it.
80 Drew, get it straight why these guys have the tit for tat.
Well, if Mike is mad at Chuck, I'm supposed to use that term again, Mike. Eyeball test. And looking at this top 7, Dr. Cavil, there are really only 2 teams that passed the eyeball test right now. And that being Jackson State and Alabama State passed the eyeball test, while the next 2 teams, North Carolina Central and Prairie View A&M, at least garner a look. I won't say a serious look yet, but they garner a look. And the reason they don't pass the eyeball test yet is because of their inconsistency thus far at this date on the schedule. Now, Dr. Cavil, everybody else, you can throw the rest of it out. This really should have only been a top 5, and we should be debating on who's number 5 because 5, 6, and 7 all are flawed. And if you're talking about championship contenders, none of those in those last 3 slots right now, today, September 28th, is a team that I would consider a championship contender. So right now, I know it's early. We still haven't even began MEAC play yet. But when you just looking at the swag, it's like we know the East is going to come down in 2 weeks when those 2 teams go heads up. But Jackson State, be careful, and then we're gonna get into it in the last segment. You got a pissed off Alabama A&M team that you got to go face next week. So don't get caught looking ahead with the trap game. And let me save it for the next segment. Let me save that for the next segment, Dr. Cavil, because I'm about to get ahead of myself. But the rest of these teams up here, y'all need to shape up and catch up with the other contenders.
Yeah, I can't wait till the next segment when we start talking about next week's matchups. And I can imagine some of y'all might even skip down and start looking forward. You're not coaches or players, so you can afford to do that. Wow, the proverbials say coaches next game on the schedule. But AD Drew and all you all in terms of the professors talking about this, I like the way you break it down. A couple of years ago, we had the road to Atlanta, and we had the truck that was in there. And we talked about those in the front seat. We basically did the front seat based on MEAC and SWAC. So it's fascinating. In this case, your front seat looks like a collision course between Jackson State and Alabama State, with Central controlling in a lot of ways that front seat for the MEAC, but still some question marks in terms of what that looks like. One of the best things they may have going for them, as we talk about looking forward, is where do they play that game against the other team currently in the top 7, Howard. But we'll see in the next segment, talk about some of these upcoming matchups, and then anything that you have projected. Let's take our last break, come back on the other side, and do just that and talk about some of these key matchups. And
bring Dr. Cavil's bus back. Bring the bus back. I'm ready for it. Bring it back.
It was a moving van.
It was a bus, man.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and A.D. Drew. Let's get into this last segment. It's already time to look forward. A lot of people have discussed from last night to this morning what took place this past weekend. And obviously you can catch A.D. Drew, and that's Brian and A.D. on Sports Wrap. If they'll give you more wrap down on what took place this past weekend, as well as leading you into the rest of your week in terms of what that looks like. And HBCU Nightly with Joshua Sims and BJ Jones. Let's get into the key major division matchups in week number 6. Let's look at those top 7. We'll float into some of the other matchups as well. When you talk about the top matchup, you still have a top 10 matchup, essentially. Jackson State goes to Mobile in a classic game. Alabama A&M is the official home team. But this is number 1 versus number 8. Alabama A&M is coming off a tough road loss. And they will host Jackson State that is feeling really good, playing some good football. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
I think the big thing for Jackson State, and to me, Rome has to burn from within. And when I say that, one of the bugaboos for Jackson State is penalties, and they had another double-digit plus 100-yard penalty game yesterday. So it's getting to the point with Jackson State where they beating themselves is their sort of barometer. thing that you kind of take a look at. So that's something that you kind of have to be careful with, especially playing a neutral site game. Although I think, the Blue Bengal Nation will be down there in Moss, down there in Mobile, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on with regards to Jackson State. Good football despite the penalties.
80 Drew, Charles is telling you that Jackson State should get it done, but penalties may be what allows A&M Bulldogs to win this game. What are your thoughts? What would it take for the Bulldogs to get this done?
They need to take their chip on the shoulder down 65 South into Mobile that they should have on their shoulder from losing their game to Bethune-Cookman on yesterday. Now, here's another advantage Jackson State has is that Mobile, Alabama is geographically closer to Jackson, Mississippi than Huntsville, Alabama is to Mobile, Alabama. But that's only good for the students, Dr. Cavil, that plan on coming, because we know that the alumni most of the time don't live in Huntsville and or Jackson. So with that being said, it's always interesting when these teams play in Mobile, especially the Alabama teams, because in case you haven't checked it, Mobile is not an easy place to get to, especially via the bird. So who's gonna get down to Mobile? If you got some people coming over from New Orleans or something like that, that's an easy trip. But people from Atlanta are right there on that border. Do I drive? Do I fly to Mobile? But if you fly, you need to have a deep wallet or Mike's Amex card so that you can fly down there, because it is not a cheap flight into Mobile. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. If there is a trap game for Jackson State, this is the trap game for them.
Talking about Alabama State homecoming in a couple of weeks. Good job. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
So just to piggyback off of what he was saying, I'm going to need Alabama A&M bring that 30 points a game that they've been averaging, but I'm going to also need them to back up off that 31 points a game that they're allowing the other people. They gave Bethune 34 points. You're about to play the number one scoring offense in the SWAC that's scoring a little bit more than that, actually 110% of that value. So I'm going to need you to bring that attitude plus a defense to that game, plus the chip on your shoulder from being pissed off. That's what I see. They're going to need to bring some swagger, some attitude, and some technical adjustments to that defense as well.
Let's go to this number 2 matchup, get all your thoughts, and then I'll just go one by one on a couple of matchups. This is the top 10 matchup. Bethune-Cookman Wildcats go on the road, take the show on the road after a big conference victory. They're 2-3 on the season. They get a chance to make a major statement. Can they take down number 2? Alabama State Hornets that are looking really good right now. They're 3-1, 1-0. And intriguing matchup from that perspective. Mike, jump back in here and go ahead and tell me, can the Wildcats get it done? And if so, how?
I don't think so. I think they can score. I think they can score with Alabama State, but and they're playing in the Hornets' nest, so to speak. They're going to have to bring not only some attitude, some gravitas, as you will. They're going to have to bring that same offense that they had against A&M. The problem is their defense. Just like Alabama A&M, their defense is giving up almost way more points than they're scoring. So what kind of run stop defense, what kind of pass defense, because you're playing a team that's equally balanced. So can they bring that? I don't know. What kind of adjustments? Do they have the personnel is a question that I would ask. But I think it'll be a tall, big drink of water for them to come in and pull off the ups. Not saying it's not possible, but that's a big drink of water for them to come in and to upset Alabama State.
I happen to agree with you, but we have to ask the questions. Charles, what do you think about this matchup?
I think AD said that Alabama A&M Jackson State was a trap game. To me, this is the trap game for Alabama State, especially coming from an over-the-hump game where you got past that barrier that was FAMU. If there's any sort of game where you can sort of look past this one to get to Jackson State, this is the one. And this is a Bethune-Cookman team. Like I said, ever since that fourth quarter against South Carolina State, they've been putting some points up, and they've become scary. And they got some guys that can get behind defense. When you take a look at Malik Huggins or Lorenzo Jenkins. So you kind of have to be careful with them. I don't think they're going to get the victory, but just because I think Alabama State, from a physicality standpoint, they can run the football. We saw that against FAMU, but it's going to be interesting because if Bethune-Cookman gets up and going early, it could get a little dicey for Alabama State.
So we see two prospective trap games for 1 and 2 leading into a matchup that we all will be lathered up if both teams can find a way to get the win. With that being said, do you believe Alabama State will get it done in this matchup, AD?
Yes, I do. And while this has all the makings of a classic trap game, what prevents this from being a trap game for Alabama State is the fact that it is homecoming in Montgomery, Alabama. So where you would say this would be a trap game, there's your motivation right there, fellas. It's homecoming. 20+ thousand will be in attendance for this particular ball game. And despite Bethune coming off 2 consecutive victories, one against a Division II opponent, one against a conference opponent, both of those victories were at home, everybody. So can Bethune take the show on the road? They may take the show on the road, but I don't think they're going to pass the sound check when it comes time to perform in this particular game.
I do want to run down the list of some of the other games. I'll just break them down. We'll hold them off to Thursday where we can take a deeper dive and really look at those matchups. But I want to say that these games are brought to you by Office Hours with Dr. Ville, brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Las Vegas, Nevada. When I'm and my family are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada, we love to dine at Chick-fil-A, located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. That's 9830 West Flamingo Road. The owner and operator is Ron Peterson, a graduate of Prairie View A&M University. He will be excited to have you as a guest. Let him know Dr. Cavil sent you by. So, other matchups that are coming your way. Number 3 does not play, but number 4 goes to Alcorn State. This game has been a close game, whether it's been on the road or away. Braves are having some trouble, but this is a game to get right on. Always tough when you go down to there in Mississippi. Can Panthers make another statement and really start to solidify themselves over the next couple of weeks? Let's go to number 5. Is Savannah State Tigers travel to South Carolina State Bulldogs. It looks like a game that South Carolina State will probably get right with SIAC foe Savannah State Tigers, former MEAC team, if you would, in terms of rekindling that short stint that they were there over 10 years. Maybe it wasn't that short. Go to next matchup in terms of there, because number 6, Howard does not play, but number 7 is back at it. Delaware State Hornets are on the road. They get a chance to make a statement against Monmouth Hawks that are 3-1, so good competition. Talking about the CAA, Colonial Athletic Association, rebranded as the Coastal Athletic Association. Let's look at a couple of more games in terms of what will take place. You have FAMU at Mississippi Valley. That game is actually in Atlanta in terms of that matchup. And in terms of what goes on there, you have Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions at Texas Southern in terms of that matchup. So fascinating to see what will happen there. And the SWAC, as you saw being posted up there, is also in week number 6. You have Morgan State at Georgetown, and you have Norfolk State at Hampton. We'll have the second series of the HBCU lecture series at Norfolk State this coming up Friday, so I'm excited about that. I'll stick around, get a chance to get a little bit about this matchup between rivals Norfolk State Spartans traveling across the bridge, if you would, to play the Hampton Pirates. Both of them have one victory, so it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. But we'll get a chance to give you the updates for the mid-major division poll rankings on Tuesday. And then Thursday, we'll take a deeper dive in these matchups and see what these gentlemen have to say there. Fascinating to say, things are starting to shape out in just 1 week. We get a little clarity. Will we get more clarity, or will things get jumbled back up? And in a couple of weeks, we'll see that clarity start to take place, possibly in the MEAC. But I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share your podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, as well as A.D. Drew. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. On Sunday, where we talk about what took place that previous week in terms of the football matchups. With that being said, look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
I will say this. You do have a matchup between Alabama State and Prairie View coming down in a couple of weeks. That will be interesting in terms of a statement to see where the East is versus the West.
Big
and
state.
It comes after, obviously, the Alabama State-Jackson State game. So we'll get some clarity in a lot of ways over the next couple of weeks. AD Drew?
Dismiss. Hey, Mike, why didn't you get on Dr. Cavil for breaking the cycle up? With
I know he broke. I was just about to. You broke protocol. You broke protocol, Doc. Come on. That's you gotta get on your. You gotta do the chair. You gotta get in the chair or something. You gotta get in the alpha chair or something. You broke protocol.
Dismiss. I'm not taking all this hazing over the air.
Oh my God. Break protocol.